Can I tell you a story about a young man and his first time in college?
Please do.
This story is brought to you by our friends at the Book Exchange, our new sponsor. Use our code Burning Couch to get 25% off when you go buy something from the Book Exchange. So my first week at WVU, I'm a rube. I'm fresh off the farm. I think I'm cool, but probably not. So my first week at WVU, like all students their first week at WVU, I was at the Book Exchange. And I was shopping for books. I met this really pretty blonde. She had sorority sweatshirt on, and I'm like, we're talking about books, and I think I'm really getting somewhere. 18, 19. I think it's going on. And so at the end, I asked her out. No, this is probably a junior who's in the sororities, and I am a lowly freshman with hayseed stuck in my hair. What do you think she said?
Of course. Give me the number, Maddie.
Nah, Steve. No, she let me down. She gave me a big fat no. Never saw her again. I mean, saw her on campus a couple times, but I never said hi again. She deflated me for probably a full year from asking girls out. But you know who's never deflated me? The Book Exchange. They've always been there, Steve. They've always been there when I needed them. They'll give me a hug. I walk in the Book Exchange, ask for a hug. I get a hug.
And Maddie is funny because she was an imitator. And just like Morgantown, there's a lot of imitators in Morgantown. But the Book Exchange is not one of them. The history, like we talked about, since 1934, a small family-run owned business. Burning Couch, right now, you would get 20% off. But we already said it's almost nearly free. Largest selection of women's gear, WU gear, men, women, children, kids, what have you.
And by the way, you can still go and, of course, spend your first week getting your textbooks there as well. There are so many people who come into Morgantown and try to make money off of West Virginia. The Book Exchange, if you're going to spend your money on West Virginia gear, spend it local, spend it family-owned. We support family-owned businesses. In fact, we have no sponsors that aren't family-owned businesses. The Book Exchange, use the code Burning Couch, go to bookexchangewv.com. And remember, take a screenshot, keep your receipt. We're going to do a drawing at the end of the month, Steve, for some cool gear from the Book Exchange. And you're going to throw in something that they would never be able to get, correct?
Yeah, nostalgic. That's the key word that we're going to have with the Book Exchange is nostalgic. We're going back to 2005.
And then, and we'll take it back to 1934. The Book Exchange. Go check them out. Burning Couch is the code. 25% off. Do it now. Do it. And we are back after those exhilarating words about our first new sponsor, the Book Exchange. Joining us now from WV Sports Now and a bunch of other places. He's been on the show before, and we always have good conversations. And I love watching him get yelled at on Twitter. Mike Asti, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yeah, it wouldn't be a day if I didn't have to hear from the trolls on Twitter. They didn't give it up for Lent. I was hoping maybe they would, but happy to be here. Happy to talk with you guys again. How are you doing, Maddie, Steve? How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Always a pleasure to have you on. Always.
Yeah,
awesome.
And of course, the first question I want to ask you is: are we making the tournament or not?
That's the question. It's funny. If we would have done this a week ago, if you would have asked me a week ago, I would have said, regardless of the road games, they're definitely getting in. The conference is so tough. As long as they take care of business at home, they're good enough. They're going to get in. That Texas Tech loss is bad. I mean, even after the win against Oklahoma State, and I was there covering it, the Texas Tech loss just feels bad. I know they picked it up a little bit lately, and it's the Big 12, but that would be the reason if they don't get in. I do think, and I've been asked this a lot, of course, even if they get blown out on the road, because no one expects them to win on the road anyway. They got one road win in the Big 12 in 2 years. As long as they win against Kansas State, season finale, at home, and then probably they need one tournament win as a cushion, which we're not getting unreasonable here, they'll crawl in the tournament. Lenardi and all those guys have been wanting them in. They've been arguing for them in. They've been moving up computer rankings despite losing. Like, they know how tough the Big 12 is. But if they don't, and I touched on this, I know we talked about this, maybe this is why you want me on the show. If they don't get in, it's hard to feel bad because they had the cards in front of them. They were even talking about it. Prior to that game, Eric Stevenson claims he's the resident bracketologist, and he told his team, we take care of business at home, we're going to get in. They drop one at home to the worst team in the conference.
Yeah. That was a rough one, and it's been a very. I told Steve this earlier. I feel like it's just a very typical West Virginia team playing under our potential and blowing some easy shots sometimes that could get us, where we need to go.
Kinda. Although I will admit I had higher expectations for this team. Certainly when they were playing well out of conference play. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, I think the conference play does have to do a lot with our team now. But do you think, the few games that we did squeak by, or not squeak by, but win against ranked opponents, you think that's going to have any merit from losing to somebody since we're still not ranked?
Yeah, having West Virginia is that enigma team. I mean, they're really a hard team to try to bracket, really, to be fair to all those guys, because they have really big quality wins. They have 3 top 15 wins off the top of my head, teams that were ranked top 15 at the time of the game, and that includes out-of-conference play against Auburn, so it's not just Big 12. They also got some bad losses, and again, not only Texas Tech, but nobody would have batted an eye during the 0-for-5 conference losing streak to open up conference play if you lose to Kansas and Baylor. They're the last 2 defending national champs. I mean, you're going to lose those games probably, even if twice a year. But, losing the other ones really stings as well. Kansas State got good, but losing that at the end with Eric Stevenson melting down despite proclaiming he's the team leader, losing to Oklahoma by 1 point. I mean, guys, if they don't get in, forget the Texas Tech game. That's a game to point to.
Yeah.
Because if you're evaluating a team, you have 2 games against Oklahoma. Okay. 1, you beat them by 30. The other one, you lose by 1 point. It's pretty fair I think Oklahoma fans would agree West Virginia is better. I mean, the math there equates to West Virginia being a better team, but they lost the game, so it counts as a loss.
Yeah.
So this is a team, as I was saying, unlike last year, because a lot of fans do, Maddie, as you're kind of saying, it's just same old story. Last year, they were so bad. It's one of Huggins' worst teams.
Oh, I don't compare anything to last year.
Yeah, I think all the fans need to also understand that, because I do hear a lot of it's just same as last year. I want you to understand how bad last year was. It was multiple 7-game losing streaks. It was Huggins' worst team in 40 years as a coach. It was really, really bad. But maybe it's more similar to 2 years prior, like right after McBride, that last year of McBride, year after that,
I've been saying this all season, that this is a special team. I still feel like it's a special team.
Could be.
I think they have all the makings of a special team. They just haven't put it all together for any period of time. Even as somebody covering the team, they are so incredibly frustrating. And I had a colleague flat tell me he's burnt out already covering this team because of just you're trying to put the fan card away, obviously, when you're covering a team, but you're just frustrated and burnt out from experiencing this. You don't know what you're going to get every single night. And the fact that they have those major wins, they then have the really off games in games they really had to win. And you know what's really the most frustrating? And I kind of like this when I'm covering an athlete, because you know, we guys all been around it. Steve, as a player, Maddie, as somebody else in media, when a coach or player is just lying to you in a press conference, you can't necessarily always call them out, but you take it in. West Virginia, to their credit, especially Eric Stevenson, who is the 5th-year senior, he took the charge and said, I'm going to be the team leader early in the season. They're very, very honest with you. He said after Texas Tech, we had no energy at all. This team didn't pick it up in this game. He had 27 points, but it's like, you're the team leader. You clearly know this team has no energy. Why? Give me that answer. Like, you know you have to win it. You're playing well. You just talked smack 24 hours earlier. How could you have no energy at home? That doesn't make sense. But then you go to out-of-conference play prior. They played right with Purdue, who has so many bigs that people are saying they're going to go far in the tournament, and they were number 1 ranked team in the country at one point. Maryland did beat them, though. They played right with Xavier on the road. They played a tougher out-of-conference schedule than a lot of teams besides Kansas. They get into conference play, it's like a totally different team. They couldn't hit free throws all of a sudden. That shouldn't matter on who you play. So this team, which again is different than the last couple years, Huggins finally adapted to the transfer portal. He went out and got legit veterans that are hungry, that want to play for Huggins. Because again, as you know, not every player can play for every coach. Not every player could have dealt with Rich Rodriguez yelling all the time. Not every player can deal with Huggins, but these players love him. They can deal with him. And yet, it's just sometimes they've got down for games that are must wins. And it almost also feels like that, unlike last year,
we're in December and Huggins is apologizing to the state of West Virginia and all of Mountaineer Nation. This year, he knows how good this team could be.
Yeah.
That's why he's frustrated too. And you also can kind of tell whether some games he's thinking about, if they lose, I got to give them tough love. Other times he's trying to pick him up and say, hey, no big deal, we'll get him next time. When you know it's like a mental thing with him, he knows how good they can be. But I tell everybody this who asks me on any of these shows I appear in, because like we get this now, obviously. This team, if they get in, they're not a team I'd want to play because they have a really high ceiling for how good they really, really can be. We saw it against Oklahoma State. Yes, they have a floor. They can be really, really bad. You don't know until the game tips off, but they could easily lose right away or lose the first conference tournament game and not even get in, or they can make a dark horse Sweet 16 run, and I wouldn't be shocked either. That's the situation.
Steve, this is why we have Mike on. We don't ever have to talk the whole time. Like,
Mike is
Mike can monologue, my man.
I can. Yeah.
I love it. So even speaking on Eric Stevenson, him being fifth-year senior and being pronounced veteran and leader, do you think that role was too big for him to fill? Because of meltdowns he's had.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think it's a fair question, though, because the weirdest part about it is when I say he's a self-proclaimed leader and you say that, it's literally the case. He started out throughout the season saying he wanted to be the leader. Huggins then eventually anointed him the leader, saying he's the guy. Clearly, Huggins talks to him at timeouts, etc. But then not even a month ago, and this is after he kind of mentally collapsed against Kansas State and talking to fans and players and all of that, which isn't what a leader should do, despite whether you're 50 or 1 year, doesn't matter. Huggins came out there, and as any hard-nosed coach would say, well, this team needs to find a leader. We're void of leaders. We're looking for leaders. Like, clearly to call out Eric and saying, hey, if you're the leader, I don't know what that was. Like, that's not leadership. We don't got one then. Emmett Matthews, people want him to be the leader. Some argued it was him, but he might be a really great player. I never got a leadership vibe. But when he's out, that's a big deal. That's hurt them. Trey Mitchell's cold streak hurt them before the other night. So
welcome back, Trey Mitchell.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a big deal. This is a legit team though that they love playing together. I think Eric Stevenson can be a leader and really does take woe to Huggins. Like when Huggins yells at him, he doesn't get demoralized. But if you call yourself a leader and then you're single-handedly responsible for one of the losses while your team is on the bubble, that's a problem. So I could see maybe if I'm a teammate of his, like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah. No, I feel like the toughest part about being, not saying being a leader or being proclaimed leader, first of all, you need to understand your woes and understand what you need to keep in check and handle those first. It's hard to come out and be a leader because I've been around some great players to where you knew what they are, what they were thinking, and how their body language moving. They don't have to say much to you. It's really never about over speaking. I gotta say,
there's different types of leadership.
Yeah, right. I was never. Basketball's different sport for me, but it's like I was never an extra vocal leader unless, hey, I did something wrong. It's like, hey, I'm gonna right what I wronged and do what I need to do and show you, what I'm about. So, who do you feel, in a sense, would be the next step or the biggest step for us to mentally be right on the court?
Yeah. Well, I think number one, I do, and this is. I intentionally waited to write that commentary until after I saw what happened against Texas Tech, because if they would have won that, I think they're pretty secure. And also it kind of forced me to write it because I'll admit I was a little annoyed. I get Eric Stevenson's frustration and I get Mountaineer fans' frustration. I'm even frustrated and I'm calling it out on the whole comment of, well, if we were in the ACC, we'd be up by 5 games. I get it. First of all, I don't think they'd be up by 5 games. That's a bit much. Yeah. 5 games is a bit much. But I do think they would have a similar year to Pitt. They beat him by 25. Pitt's not that great. Pitt's playing against a lot weaker teams. Like, I'll throw out a stat for you. West Virginia's played 17 quad 1 teams. Pitt's played 7. It's not even close. I get it. But I think to answer Steve's question, West Virginia and Eric Stevenson in particular, because every Friday he drops these bombs, they need to worry about themselves.
Yeah.
Not Pitt, who is irrelevant to you. They need to worry about themselves. They need to look at themselves in the mirror and say, if we don't get in, it is our own fault. Because the committee was agreeing the schedule's harder for you guys. When Pitt's getting 9 seed projections, and so was West Virginia. Lenardi and those guys are saying, we know your schedule's tougher. We're giving you the same seed bracket despite you being the bottom of the conference, but you got to eventually win some games. You can't just putter around.
You got to show you're better physically and
right.
mentally on the court. Yeah.
Right. So worry about themselves is the answer.
So, Mike, first of all, I do need to correct you. Pitt eats shit, so they're always on our mind. The second thing is there a world where every Big 12 team makes it into the tournament?
If Oklahoma or West Virginia or Texas Tech, like if one of those teams goes on a run and wins the Big 12 tournament or something wild like that, yeah, you could hack. We actually have that on our site. Ethan kind of wrote something to that effect. It wouldn't, I'm not going to predict it, but it could happen. Huggins said it, and you guys were around for it. I was in college. You guys know about it. Steve, you were in college too, or getting out of college. Huggins said that this is the toughest conference in a single year he's ever dealt with his whole career, which means
more than the Big East,
more than the stacked Big East. And if you look at how many ranked teams, and I guess the argument for that is that was 16 teams, so there's more. But there, Steve knows there was about 6 or 7 back then. That's a gimme win. This year in the Big 12, not one. I mean, every night, nothing's guaranteed. So it could happen. It would be cool. I think the Big 12 tournament is going to be really, really exciting because anybody can win. And if you get one of those teams to lose early and get upset, I wouldn't be shocked if West Virginia goes on a deep run even in that tournament. But again, they could lose right away too. A few years ago, they went on that run where they were in the final game against Kansas. No one expected that. So this is all ripe for the taking. But if they don't win the game against Kansas State at the end of the season at home, I don't even know if it's relevant unless they win the conference tournament. They got to get that win.
So, Mike Asti, I'm going to be in Morgantown for that game. So hopefully, maybe I'll see. I'll be pregame with my boy Tony C.
Okay.
Name dropping to the highest degree.
Love it. I got a game for us to do, but just real quick before the game. I don't know if you've heard this, but there is one outlet that already knows the starting quarterback for the Mountaineers, but they can't say. Can we just, I got to. So, Steve, our friend at the Voice of Morgantown. This was his bullshit post this past week. Man. I have an authority who the quarterback has already been picked, but I can't tell you until September 2nd. But... Oh, no, that's what he said, but I can't tell you until September 2nd. And, he knows what he's doing. It made a lot.
Right.
But, I just love shit like that. Like,
it's funny. I'm not surprised. Shit. And the funniest thing is I'll tell you too from the program, like number one, if his goal is to get under some of their skin, he actually does do it. Some of them actually really are annoyed, including top people. And number two, he's obviously has no knowledge and is making things up. I'll say that I've said it to him. However, if by chance he somehow actually does have knowledge and somebody at the program is tipping him off, that person will be fired tomorrow. Like that would be such a turncoat thing at the program. So I didn't see that. I don't know. I thought you were going to actually touch on something that he talked about of a coach they're going to hire on the basketball.
We're in the month of February.
Beard. Yeah, we're going to bring Beard in. Yeah,
there's no way impossible in the month of February we can really cement who's starting for next year.
No, I can give you. If I'm going to bet money, I think Garrett Green has the edge. He's the veteran. That's probably what he's going to do. Something like that. But no, there's no way they're deciding anything this early. No way.
Not at all. Yeah. And I'll tell you, a lock is C.J. Donaldson is going to be a starting running back. I tell you that.
He's gonna have a real monster year out. I agree. I don't know who's going to be quote unquote starter because I think Neil Brown's really loyal to veterans like Mathis, but CJ is going to get a lot of touches. He's going to be really involved if he's healthy. And Steve, you got to love this. He hadn't even played running back before last year. So imagine another year of season if he can get a full season in. He's going to have Chad. I think Chad Scott being the OC is really good for CJ because that's the running back guy. This team is not going to be a spread offense that Steve was familiar with, but they're going to be a ground team. Like this is on the ground. They're going to live and die on the ground regardless of QB. So West Virginia fans that have been wanting that really since Dana, you're going to get it. It'll be a really, really run first team. 100%.
I think definitely that's going to be one of our strongest suits. For real, just because of the emergence of C.J. Johnson coming in, and with I do love Tony Mathis as a veteran. I think he's going to understand his role a lot better. Of hey, no more shaking and baking, just get these yards because every first down is going to really matter for this next year.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
stay healthy. Yeah.
It's time to put on your game faces. We are unleashing a new game in honor of this book exchange. Those fine people at the book exchange who are sponsoring this program now. And let me tell you something. Go use that code Burning Couch. 25% off. It's free. I don't know math well, but I think that's almost free. It's like half off, right? 25%. It's a lot. So make sure you go.
We weren't math majors here.
Yeah. No, I was an English major, man. But the game is textbook title or not. Now, these aren't, college textbooks that you would find at the book exchange, but somebody wrote them thinking people would learn from them. So I'll say the name of the book, and then you will tell me yes or no if that is a actual book or not. Okay. So let's see here. Number 1 goes to Mike Asti. Mike. Okay. The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat and Other Clinical Tales by Oliver Sacks.
That's a long title if that is one. I'm going to say yes, that it is a textbook title.
I feel like I know that as a textbook, but as an honorary to the game, respect to the game, I go against it.
Wow. Steve's hardcore, and Steve loses that one. It actually is a book.
It sounds familiar, but that's long.
I fucking heard. I know I heard it. I heard it.
You've not heard of these. The next one is How to Hypnotize College Chicks and Other Psychological Experiments by Tim Carver, M.A. That's to you, Steve. How to Hypnotize College Chicks and Other Psychological Experiments by Tim Carver, M.A.
Did you read it at WVU?
I'm gonna say yeah, just because that's you're gonna sell some books with that one.
You probably would sell some books. I'm gonna say no.
That is not actually a book title. That's one I came up with, and maybe I'll that's what I'm going to name my next book. Because it sounds like
you would sell some books at WVU.
Sounds like people like that one. Okay. Next one to Mike. You're Sharp Enough to Be Your Own Surgeon. The Body Contouring Program by Dr. Keith Clark.
Wow. I like that title, by the way. These are all really, really long. I'm going to say yes, book title.
I say yes because of contouring doesn't mean just
your deep
knife work. It means working in the kitchen. So yes.
So you both said yes. You both are correct. That is actually the book.
Steve, you know about the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
He's got the chef skills, right? Yeah.
The next one. Hold on one second, gentlemen. I'm back.
No, you're not.
These dogs, man. All right. So the next one is hold on. Oh, I lost my little. Where did my thing go? Hold on, everybody. I've lost my thing.
Had it all planned out.
I just had it all here.
That's not a good comment to have there, Manny.
Yeah, I know. People at the book exchange are like, who are these schmucks? Okay, next one. How to Raise Your IQ by Eating Gifted Children by Louis Frumke.
Wow.
Officer Frumke?
No,
I feel like
Louis Frumke. It's just a Steve.
To me, I feel like this is just a weird one because
definitely a weird one.
It's a weird one because it's like you don't go with your initial. I'm gonna say it's a book. I'm gonna say it's real. Why not?
I'm gonna say no. That can't be approved as a book.
It is, and you guys are tied 3-3.
Wow. See?
All right.
Got to read that one then. I'm intrigued.
Here's one for you. Sitting in My Own Filth and More Depressing Thoughts for College Students by Sid Rosenberg.
Oh.
That is to Mike, I believe.
Okay.
And I have tiebreakers, by the way, so if you guys tie.
Sitting in My Own Filth. The thing is, I could see someone selling this, but I also could see Maddie coming up with this as like one of his throw-offs. I'm going to say no.
Is this the last one, or is it a tiebreaker one?
It is the last one,
Oh,
but we have
wow.
tiebreakers if you decide
So
to agree with Mike.
Comes down to the end again. I lost last time on this question.
You don't always have to be a man of principle, Steve. You can
I'm
play the game to
just
win.
the man of principles to play the game because
Yeah. You're a winner,
odds
though.
shall ever be in my favor. Oof. I feel like it's a self-help book because you need help. You're sitting in your filth, and that's what most kids do. So I'm saying, yes, it is a book.
It is
Maybe a good
not.
title.
It's one I did make. Mike's getting to know me pretty well.
Yeah, I was thinking like you had to make another one up.
Sid Rosenberg, by the way, one of my former hosts in New York City, the great sports announcer,
Good
Sid
one.
Rosenberg. Okay, you guys want to hear one at the? I'll give you one more just for fun.
Do I get the win though? I won.
You
that,
got the win,
regardless?
Mike. Yeah, you got the win.
I got my first victory on the podcast. Thank you.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Okay,
just
luckily.
as a bonus, if you want closure in your relationship, start with your legs. A guide to understanding men. A woman's guide to understanding men.
No, it ain't a book. That's false.
I'll say yes.
It is actually a book.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I got the cushion win anyway.
That's
then.
a fun game.
that is not a bad game.
Book
Yeah.
exchange. That's just for you, Mike. As the winner, you get a minute. Don't go 5. All right.
I will not. No.
Talk whatever you want. Let's hear it.
Well, I don't need 5 or need a minute. Just hit up WV Sports now. Hit up my podcast anywhere you find your podcast. Mic Drop, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, etc. And listen to this one. I enjoy Maddie and Steve. So yeah, hope to be able to see you at the game at Kansas State. Some games I don't venture down. So I'll definitely try to get to that one. Steve, gotta try to see you at some point as well. So always great talking to you guys. And yeah, I want this team to get in the tournament though. It just would be such a deflating thing for them not to get in.
Yeah, and I got to say, my favorite sports thing to go to now is the first round of the NCAA tournament.
It's awesome.
It's the best thing I've ever done. I've gone a couple times now. I'm going to go every year because it's so much fun.
Yeah, I've covered it before. I've been to it as a fan. I covered it in college, actually, college radio, covered it professionally. I've had every experience you can have, and it is really, really cool. Hopefully, also, they get in legitimately and not in the play-in stupid thing, but go back to the Texas Tech game.
And the year in San Diego, when it was Marshall in the first round with us, never had more fun. Rooted for Marshall for the first time in my life, and then
right, because you
reveled in them getting slaughtered by us. Anyway, Steve Slayton, the floor is yours now.
As always, you can find me on Twitter at Steve23Slayton and on Instagram, Mr. Slayton. But I wanted to give a big shout out to Mr. Mike Montero. He was named the Let's Star Jordan Award, which is a very hardworking man, and he's very deserving. Anytime a West Virginia person earns an award for their hard work, the service they give to the school, they need to be celebrated.
I'll second that. Great guy, top of the profession, been around for a long freaking time. And he had some health issues he had to get over recently that I know he put out there, and he's doing fine now. So to come out of that with that award, I saw him actually Monday night. He looked in great spirits. Much deserved, 100%.
A little big red.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you can follow us at Burning Couch Pod on all your social media stuff. Also, our YouTube channel, which is been surpassing our audio. So, hey, who knew?
Okay.
Go check it out, us on YouTube. And remember, take that code, Burning Couch, go to Book Exchange, buy something, take a screenshot. You'll be in the drawing for some cool stuff at the end of the month. Mike, Asti, thank you again. Steve,
absolutely,
love you. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate
and the last word goes to you.
To whom?
Steve?
Me?
Yeah,
me
last week you
always
were all like, I have something ready to say at the end. And then, and you didn't.
I did.
Do you have something this time?
Well, as an animal lover, Maddie, I'm going to break your heart. We lost one of our family members. So, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Everybody tonight, pour out a beer for Steve's dog. I mean, really, like pour one out for your homie. Yeah, pour it out for him, Mike.
I don't want to do it on
I don't know what's in that glass. That is disgusting.
It's iced coffee, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But listen, hey, it's a new day and age for us Mountaineer fans and our Mountaineer faithful. Faith is all we need, and faith will get us by.
From Jam Street Media.